Hello, David Hume here. Welcome to my channel. Uh, Unfortunately, this may be a 5 to 6 minute introduction, but I'll provide the timestamp so you could skip that. Uh, well, looking at the screen here, I don't think there needs to be much explanation. Go format War League match. For the team. I'm team free. I'm playing for the team free agents, and he's playing for Team Detox. Unfortunately, in light of the War League, this duel is not going to have that much significance because our team is down 0-4, and so if I prevail in this duel, it will only mean that we would prevent the ignominious sweep. I would prevent the ignominious sweep. But since I'm playing against the duelist that I most admire, the psychological stakes are quite high for me. And of course, I will be taking the mound for my team in this duel. I hope to find the strike zone, not make any misplays, not give up any major home runs, not give up. I mean, home runs are major, and not to give up those balls on bases. I practice a lot on Edo Pro. I practice a lot on Edo Pro so I can perfect my technical play. So with a little luck and with good technical play, I may prevail against accomplished players like MattUber. And last season, I prevailed against Lucas the Heretic, who is one of the best players that year, I think, with like an 11-2 record. And he also won the recent GOAT format championship 20 a few weeks ago. Anyway, I'm a devotee, as you know, I'm a devotee of the Steingate deck, of Reasoning Gate. And I hope you would find this mirror match. I hope you can describe this mirror match with the same words that the Apostle Paul used in verse 8 of chapter 4 to his letter to the Philippians congregation. I hope that you find it to be right. I hope you find this duel to be pure. I hope you find it to be lovely. I hope you find my plays to be commendable, excellence, and worthy of praise. I put a lot of work into perfecting the craft, lots of hours in playing many duels and analyzing many situations, so I could execute. So I could execute properly and accept whatever results come and accept whatever results would occur if I just focus on the process. A well-played game is beautiful. And as a spoiler, verse 4 applies. Verse 4 is quite relevant for me in this duel because I actually won, and I'm not Nova Ethos, so you're not going to hear any puns about that. Well, anyway, I'm not a tour guide. I'm not Bart Ehrman, so I'm not a tour guide to the New Testament or the Pauline epistles or the Book of Revelations or the Book of Revelation, but I hope to be a tour guide to this duel. I win the rock, paper, scissors. Yeah. Oh, I should hide his hand. I'm gonna say that I should reveal MattUber's hand because I mean I like this is a chat. I intend to make I intend this channel to be about the Reasoning Gate deck and also pointing out his potential plays is integral to that. And as for this hand, I just set Mirror Force. There's also the option of summoning Sacred Crane, the reason why I don't summon Sacred Crane in most situations against a typical deck. A typical will define it for this context, for this situation, especially going first. A typical deck is one that's likely to play Delinquent Duo. You want to hold Sacred Crane because you want to have it as discard fodder for Delinquent Duo. Although arguably, if that happened, you don't have anything for the monster gates. But but in that case, then you don't want to put this in jeopardy by keeping it on the field, so it's safer in the hand. But I mean, is there any advantage to summoning this card against MattUber? Like I said before, you have 2 monster gates, so you don't want to put this in jeopardy. So, say Mirror Force is the best option here. You don't like I don't know if I went over this, but I'm gonna say it again. Sending Book of Moon on an empty field is not a good play. Book of Moon is a good card, and you don't get much value from it if you just set it. And if you set it on an empty field, it's not really going to deter your opponent, because your opponent is not going to deter your opponent from summoning a beater because they have to summon the beater, because there's no to deplete your life points to 0. You're not going to wait for them. Your opponent's not going to wait to draw like a breaker or a mystical space. They're just going to summon a beater if they have it, and just force you to use this card. Like I said before, I just set Mirror Force and didn't use the face buttons. MattUber revealed his hand. He revealed his deck by playing that card. Unless, not really, because he could potentially go into that, what do you call it, into the library deck, which he can't do that because it's illegal in the War League. Yeah, I don't know if I said this duel does not have like any practical significance to the War League, because unfortunately my team got this duel. The practical significance is to prevent our team from being swept, because my teammates all lost their duels against Team Detox. Free agents unfortunately lost their first 4 duels against Team Detox, so this duel was to prevent the sweep, and more importantly for me, I think this is a duel of our pride, and I got lucky to get matched with MattUber, the player that I most admire, so this was an immense privilege. And I specifically planned, I planned my side deck for this, so again, I mean, I didn't talk about the preparation, so obviously when I learned I was playing him, and even when I learned he was on Team Detox, I put Spellcaster in my side deck and other things for this. And as a spoiler alert, I mean, if I didn't, I mean, like I said before, I sort of said that verse 4 in Philippians chapter 4 is quite relevant, because I rejoice because I'm going to win, and spoiler alert is that I won, and Spellcaster was quite instrumental for me. He gets Jinzo, and hits me for 24. Yeah, transfer the ticket. I didn't. The obvious reason why that you have to the obvious reason why that you have to use Crane, that you have to play Monster Gate, is because if he just hit you again, Stein would be offline. The decision here is what spell card I'm going to get, and I chose Premature because I have Monster Gate, and if I get Graceful, Graceful technically is just, I could trade Graceful for any of the 3 cards I draw while discarding the other 2 cards I draw. And the reason why I didn't play Graceful is because I believe these cards could potentially be useful, so I didn't want to discard them for Graceful. And also, I wanted to use Monster Gate to get Sacred Crane. But I didn't need the Nobleman to cross out, as we'll soon see. I played the reasoning. I shuffled my hand. Uh, I mean, again, I'm going to praise MattUber here. I mean, because I think the innovation, the bidah that I copied from MattUber, I mean, aside from playing Steingate, which is quite innovative, the bidah is that he is in some of his lists he plays a 2 Book of Moon and 2 Nobleman a Crossout. I mean, obviously these cards have synergy. I mean, that's a good way of. I mean, it's a good way of hedging your knock if you're playing against Warrior, and also 2 Book of Moons works well with Visor Shock, and obviously it's a chaos heavy meta, so I, obviously you would side out Nobleman, but I get rid of the what do you call it? I get rid of the one with Premature Burial because maybe I want to keep it on the field for if opponent has like Mystical Space Typhoon or whatever. I didn't. I knew I had 2 Giant Tornades and I didn't expect to get it, so I just chose to pick the one with the Premature attached. I was sort of debating whether to use Book of Moon on this, and I decided not to because I have priority. So I think I have to move first. So if I use Book of Moon, it may trigger him to chain with a Scapegoat, and I kind of want to minimize that chance. And and if he doesn't have Scapegoat, I could just knock it. So I mean, I could just knock it. So I just choose to let Visor Shock resolve without chaining. No, wait, that doesn't make any sense because if I use Visor Shock, opponent could then chain with the set card. But he could just pass and then. But I think it's slightly more optimal just to play it the way I did by just letting it resolve. And we learned that it's not a Scapegoat. Most likely not a Scapegoat. Most likely not a book. And obviously, I didn't have to use Book of Moon on Jinzo because I could just use Book of Moon on a new chain and just knock it on the next chain. It's gone. Uh, when you play this deck, an important arithmetic is that 2800 times 2 plus 24 is 8,000. So 2800 times 2 is 56 plus 24 is 8,000. And that's quite relevant if you have a DMOC and a Jinzo. It comes up enough. You kind of want to remember the damage calculations, and it's a nice round number. So, I mean, but I don't have, but 1600 plus 800 is 24, so that's a Jinzo, so I win. Pause. The side deck? Uh, I kept my Sangan in. I'm not, I kept my Sangan in. I think I sided out Visor Shock for Spell Canceller. I sided out a Sacred Crane for Parshath, for Airknight Parshath, and I sided out my Jinzo for Fusilia Dragon. And obviously I sided out the Nox and I sided out the Jar Greeds, and I think I sided out a book for something. So I sided out six spells, 2 Nox, three jars, and 1 book, and that's the exact thing. And the 3 monsters that I listed. And the third duel, I may say this again, is that I kept Sangan in this duel, so I sided out that for Cyber Jar. Okay. This duel is gonna be very short, and I'm gonna reveal MattUber's hand. So not because I'm gonna play exchange. I decided not to play exchange. Obviously, exchange is a good card if you're going first, but I'm gonna reveal his hand. But as we're gonna see, there's no Trinity piece. He didn't have any Trinity piece. He didn't have a graceful cherry or a pot of greed because he would likely played it, especially if he had a pot of greed. He could hold graceful. I like to hold graceful with Scapegoat. So I have token Thanksgiving. I mean, no. Again, I'm gonna talk about my game plan. I have token Thanksgiving, and I want to get Stein out, so I have potentially 2 shots at it. I have 2 shots at it, but I just decided to take. But I can't like trigger this. I don't have a Tornado, so I just summoned Sacred Crane and just to pressure him to force him to activate Scapegoat. Yeah, I pressured him. I elicited the reaction. So I mean, yeah. Again, the decision was whether to attack, to leave to leave MattUber with 4 Scapegoat tokens to potentially goat lock him. He could, of course, use a Monster Gate on a token and get a Stein, but at least we'll just limit the damage to just 1 monster if he only has a Monster Gate. If he has another Monster Gate, he could use it, but it prevents him from using Reasoning or from normal summoning Stein. But the downside of that is that you're kind of revealing that you have token Thanksgiving because you don't want to give. You're revealing that you have token. You're perhaps revealing that you have token Thanksgiving. But I think the optimal play is just not to attack the tokens because you want him to have. You want to sort of restrict his play as much as possible, especially when you could just go off on the next turn with token Thanksgiving. So I just played swords as a bit of insurance. I'm gonna reveal his. I'm gonna reveal his hand. I mean, obviously you play swords because swords is a good card against Reasoning Gate because because they if they want to do lethal because it forces them to actually have lethal against you. Because if they use Trinade, you could just play it again on your next turn. Although MattUber may just be content with maybe content with just damaging my life points for 5,000 and making Stein offline and not killing me, and then just having Sword stick around for another 3 turns even if he plays Trinade here. But Swords just usually forces your opponent to have lethal. I mean, if they don't, you could you have you could just play Swords again, and they have to have like another. They have to have another out. They have to have another removal card, another back row removal, so they could attack again for those 3 turns. Like I said, I'm gonna reveal his hand. Oh wait, I misplayed. I forgot what he drew. I think he drew True Cannon Soldier. But the point here is that he played Monster Gate first, but to get it doesn't matter because token Thanksgiving he's at 24. 8,000 plus 24 is 10,400, and that's double your pleasure, double your fun. Also, I got double my he also doubled my detention. Skinner quote. So yeah, Heavy Storm, Token Thanksgiving, and Stein. Here it goes. I went first. Like I said before, I'm not playing Jinzo. MattUber's playing Jinzo. Oddly enough, I mean it's gonna come up. I decided just to set Ring and Fusilier. I should hide his hand, but there's no need to put these two cards in jeopardy. So I think that's probably the best play. I call 8. He gets Spell Canceller. I only did it to protect the set card, so it could be useful to set my Fusilier, to protect my Fusilier, so it could be useful. A key motif is bad back row utilization on my part. Keep that in mind. I draw Cyberstein. I drew Cyberstein. The threat is obvious because this is my back. This is I have Compulse and Torrential Tribute, so these cards are not that good if he Steins into if he Steins. No, I mean if he Cyber Jars into a Trinade or Heavy Storm. These cards are useless. So I view it as something I have to deal with. And I think MattUber misplayed on this part. I'm going to show his hand. He activates Threatening Roar here when he has Scapegoat. So the question is, and wait, what's the math? It's not enough for a double. It's not enough for a double summon if I have Token Thanksgiving. Cryo, the monster isn't revealed until I actually summon it. I mean, even if I use Ryu Senshi to prevent this from going off, I mean, I don't know how I could win. Maybe if I have I could perhaps demock into, I perhaps Monster Gate or Monster Gate into a demock, and perhaps get what do you call it, Trinade or Heavy Storm, and destroy his back row. But this is obviously not a Cyber Jar because you would flip it first. But I mean, I don't know how I could get lethal from here with Scapegoat. I have to have Trinade. I have to have Token Thanksgiving. I had to have Trinade. I had to have Token Thanksgiving, and I had to get around this monster. So maybe Trinade, Token Thanksgiving, a Monster Gate into Demock, and maybe a Megamorph. Seems kind of hard to do. So that's why I think it's a misplay. Although the question is, what are the odds of MattUber having a Cyber Jar? Usually decks that you use 2 table contents, the Delinquent deck that uses 2 Cranes, Jinzo, and Demock, although MattUber is not using those exact cards because, and 2 Canceled Her, he's not using those 5 cards because he also uses Stein its last duel and using spell cancel. Well, Spellcaster is a popular side deck option, but usually if you're playing a low monster count, you don't want to have Cyber Jar. It's kind of it's better if you could buffer the Cyber Jar with like Steins and like 3 Cranes or a Parshath or whatever. But if you have like a low monster count, you don't want to have a high chance of getting Cyber Jar. Yeah, I got rid of the Stein for obvious reasons. I set these 2 cards. I call 8. Like I said, but I said before, I didn't. I sided Jinzo out, so even if I was sticking through this, which I wasn't, I just habitually called 8. But even if I was sticking through this, maybe I would have called 8 too and not realized he has a 6. But I did not. Like I said before, I didn't play Jinzo, so if I assume MattUber thinks like I do, I would assume that he sided out Jinzo, but he didn't. He had Jinzo here. But he didn't have any follow-up except just attack and set. Obviously, use reasoning for snatch. Demok helps in the hand. It's lethal, obviously, if it went through. I looked through his, I looked through his graveyard while doing this, just to see where the odds of him having a Scapegoat, and it's highly likely, although a Book of Moon could stop the kill. I feel really interesting. I decided not to use Gatling Dragon's effect. I decided not to use Gatling Dragon's effect because I want to keep the Sacred Crane and the Jinzo, but I want to keep the Sacred Crane to pressure MattUber. So I decided not to take the risk. He said a card. Here's where I made a mistake. I believe that playing United We Stand was a mistake because MattUber is at 72. And let's just, of course, if we use Sacred Crane to attack the Goat token, we could do 5,000 with these 2. So, and if we equip United We Stand, we could do 2,400. So 5,000 plus 24 is... I equipped it to Gatling Dragon. Maybe I should have equipped it to Jinzo, but... That's probably a minor mistake, but the bigger mistake was playing United We Stand. So obviously, regardless of whatever monster, if I equipped one of these 2, it's lethal. If it went through. Maybe a dubious proposition, but I have a lot of cards, although arguably some of them are dead. Although some of them are dead, Jinzo. But yeah, I decided to keep. I didn't. Yeah, also I didn't use Gatling Dragon on it because I would only have 66, so just going for it. Aside from that stammering, I didn't say about what if I just didn't equip United We Stand to the Gatling Dragon. I would do 5,000. I would do 5,000, so MattUber's at 22 plus 1,000 from the Snatch deal is 32. Dimension Fusion's on. is online, but he can't really do anything with Dimension Fusion. So that's not really a threat, but you have Stein offline, and that's the most conservative play. And if he's at 32, even if you blow up all your monsters, I mean, if he's at 32 and he sets something, if you blow up all your monsters, you get disequip to Jinzo, maybe, and then attack directly, and hope he doesn't have Book of Moon. But, I mean, again, I equipped United We Stand and went for a game, which I think was too aggressive and not warranted, because I felt like that I was too nervous and I didn't evaluate the game state correctly. I'm going to show his hand because Zervili has Lightning Vortex. I got... Wait, yeah, he used Scapegoat in the battle phase, and I had to attack both tokens, and I used its effect, and I got all three, and it didn't matter, and I destroyed my Sacred Crane. I mean, it didn't matter because I revealed he had Lightning Vortex. What if I played conservatively by keeping that? You obviously set Scapegoat here, so, and then you could activate your end phase so you could actually pressure. I didn't shuffle my hand. Good play. I mean, I don't know if I'm in a good situation. Now I'm in a good situation. There's no reason to actually play swords because it gets owned by Giant Trinade. No reason to set it, like I said, for the same reason. Obviously, Scapegoat works really well against MattUber's Giant Trinades and Heavy Storm, so that gets set. It could have been I think a mistake here. Maybe I should have set Book of Moon and Scapegoat at the same time so I could protect the Scapegoat from Mystical Space Typhoon. Oh, that's another misplay I made. I would call it a misplay. Because, like I said before, if opponent heavies, if opponent Trinades, I'm screwed either way. So sacrificing Book of Moon to a Mystical Space Typhoon would be worthwhile. Now MattUber activates Premature Burial to target his Spell Canceller. And here I made a mistake. Since MattUber activated Premature Burial to get Spell Canceller, it forms a chain where Premature Burial is chain link 1. So for chain link 2, I mean, here's what happened. I let it go through. And one reason why I let it go through is because I did not realize my life points were at 1200. So my thought, I was very greedy. I thought maybe MattUber would summon another monster to go for the kill. But because but I could only use Torrential Tribute for one monster. But yeah, that is why I made a mistake. Because I wasn't cognizant of my life points. But in this situation, there are two possible lines of play. I could change Scapegoat to Spell Canceller and for and force MattUber to destroy all the tokens. And since MattUber summons Spell Canceller, he cannot use Token Thanksgiving, so he has to pick off all the Scapegoat tokens. He could either do it one by one, or he could summon another monster, and then I could punish him with Torrential. The second route, obviously, is just simply to activate Torrential Tribute to the summon Spell Canceller. And I would have Scapegoat and Compulsory Evacuation Device remaining if I chose the second route. Also, I'm free to activate Scapegoat whenever I want after I use Torrential on the Spell Canceller, because I said I could activate Scapegoat whenever I want because I don't have to worry about destroying all my tokens. If I choose Route 2 of just activating Torrential Tribute instead of Route 1 of activating Scapegoat and then using Torrential and using Scapegoat tokens to compel MattUber to summon more monsters to get more value from Torrential. But like I said, if I played Torrential Tribute, I could then activate Scapegoat and I don't have to worry about destroying my monsters. I could just use Compulse whenever I need to. So yeah, that's a key mistake. And no, that's a mistake. I'm forced to activate Torrential due to that blunder. I'm forced to activate Compulsory Evacuation Device due to that blunder. I used Cyber Jar. I shuffled my hand, thankfully. And I did stump, and as a homage to Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2, this is the world's most obvious Cyber Jar, as a reference to the Philadelphia level in Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 2, which has the world's most obvious gap. It's the world's most obvious Cyber Jar because I said it and used swords. But I think that's probably... I just did it because I just think that just being able to resolve on my own turn is my best chance. Although, look at my graveyard. I don't have Blacklisted Soldier, and I don't have my Token Thanksgiving. But that was... yeah. I misclicked. I played Giant Trinade because obviously I want to ensure the Cyber Jar to go off. You do that, proceed for Solemn Judgment, but MattUber does not like to play... he can play Raigeki Break. I saw MattUber play... he played Back to Square One, so he may Tekken or Raigeki Break in future duels. I think that's a part of his repertoire, but I haven't seen him do it lately. But, oh yeah, the reason why I activate Giant Trinade was to force out a Scapegoat, to bait out perhaps the third Scapegoat that he had, which means I have Carte Blanche. He can't do anything. And before I activate Giant Trinade, I looked at MattUber's graveyard to see if there's a threatening roar. And I thought he would be playing one, but he had the second right there. So Obviously, I'm not going to flip the Cyber Jar, so I just set swords and just set the back row again. Now I flip it. Right now, I looked at my hand and my I felt very despondent because I felt like with these cards, I cannot win. I decided to summon Sacred Crane in attack mode, and that means I would draw. I'll be forced to draw a card. So that means I cannot activate Graceful Charity, but I have Exchange. So I mean, I looked at my hand and I sort of briefly, I looked at my hand and then I didn't, for whatever reason, decide to look at my opponent's banished cards for Cyber Jar. I mean, I don't think there would be anything to actually help me here. Yeah, I looked at the log, but it maybe like it took me like a while to realize that MattUber, he drew card destruction. So if he was able to successfully resolve this, I would lose. But my mindset was I'm going to lose this duel. I pretty much resigned myself to losing. So since due to the realization that card destruction would finish me off, I realized that I had to summon Spell Canceller. But I still think that I would have lost because I had a bunch of useless cards and MattUber could do something to win. He has a potential resources. You could have the third Scapegoat. I draw. I think in the chat I said I was going to think about whether chaining to Torrential Tribute for the Crane summon, but since I actually drew and resolved it, it's too late, and that would be an illegal move because the chain has already passed. I mean, actually, summon doesn't start chain, but the Crane effect chain resolves, and that means I can't use Torrential Tribute. Anyway, like I said before, summoning Spell Canceller is integral to at least prevent me from losing. So I attack Sacred. So I attack this set Cyberstein with Sacred Crane. But before I did that, a misplay I made was I didn't play Mystical Space Typhoon. And misplay that MattUber made was not playing Mirror Force, which would prevent me from playing the Spell Canceller. Of course, MattUber does not know that I had Spell Canceller. I mean, maybe I was lucky because these were my actual thoughts. I mean, I was just saying what I thought. I was kind of resigned to actually losing. These were not some deceptive mind game so he could realize that he would win, that I just lost. So I may have got lucky because it may have elicited him, it may have influenced him to be complacent by not activating Mirror Force, but I was not aiming for that mind game. By saying, oh yeah, I said wait, think on Crane. Explain that. I go in the battle phase. Like I said, misplay. I got Spell Canceller off. And I'm going to show his hand. And his graveyard. No lights. No lights, no way to summon it. Everything is useless. Therefore, the opportunity to use that has passed. I set Threatening Roar. Obviously, get rid of that. Another play I could have made was I could discard Demock, so I could get it with Call the Haunted, but I wasn't thinking about that play. I wasn't thinking about that. I just thought about getting Dark Magician on the field by tribute summoning it. For some reason that didn't occur to me, but I wanted to get rid of Spell Canceller. I mean, I need to get rid of Spell Canceller, so tributing it was the best place because I could get rid of it so I could play my spells. No reason. I was sort of deliberating which monster to get, and I decided to get Sacred Crane. I said that. I mean, obviously, I had to get at last turn. I had to get Spell Canceller because he had card destruction, and I had to prevent him from using card destruction from winning. But I was sort of deliberating what monster to get, and I said before that I knew I had brain control, but I didn't know what the last card in my deck was. I could I don't want to spend time to deduce what it was, but the but the other card in the deck besides brain control is the card that wins it for me. One of the cards that wins it for me. So I decided to draw my entire deck to draw everything and win it with this in this turn. I could only summon. I can summon Stein, but that doesn't do anything. So I just tribute summon for Demock to get rid of Spell Canceller. And now I'm free to use Heavy Storm. Obviously, if MattUber had a ring, or if he had a ring, or if he uses Torrential. If he had a ring, I would have lost. So it could be in one of these 10 cards. I don't know if he decides that or not. But I was sort of deliberating which card to get for a long time to see if there was any difference between getting Megamorph or Premature Burial, because Megamorph is 2,800 points of damage added to Demock, and Premature Burial is 2,800 points of damage because you could revive Fusilier. I don't think there's any difference, but I don't know if there is any difference, because I could just use Heavy Storm to get rid of any potential, what do you call it, Mystical Space Typhoon. Although the advantage of getting although Premature Burial is probably better because your opponent could Book of Moon this, but it doesn't really matter because your opponent's at a high life point total. So I got Megamorph. What do I do next? Oh yeah, I activate Heavy Storm. Uh, illegal play. I didn't mean to activate Scapegoat. I don't want to hysterically hinder myself. That's a torrential that I didn't play properly. There's obviously one other play here, which I can't win on my cards alone. So I set the Megamorph and use Exchange. I decided to do that because he can't steal anything from me. Because He can't use anything I have. I sent this to the graveyard instead of just banishing it. So, remember what I said before in game 2? 54, 8,000. I mean, 2,800 times 2 plus 24 is 8,000. But, so I'm 79, so I'm 100 life points. So I took the Chaos Sorcerer, so I'm 100 attack points short of 8,000, but I don't need it, so obviously that's enough arithmetic. And that's the duel, I guess. Peace.